This call is now being recorded. Okay, hello everyone and welcome to another live English lesson. So, today will be the last lecture before the exam. So, we're going to make a short revision and then we will start today's topic. So, as you remember, previously we studied everything about the verbs have and have got. We learned when to use them and how to use them, right? We learned that they differ in formality, but they have the same meaning. We learned how to form a question if we have a sentence, an affirmative sentence containing the verb have. And we also learned how to form a question when we have an affirmative sentence containing the combination have got. In addition to that, we learned everything about the WH questions. We learned everything about the WH words. And we learned how to form WH questions, right? So concerning the WH questions, which we studied last time, we said that when we say a WH question, of course, it's obvious. We mean that this question starts with a WH word, right? We call it an information question. Why? Because we said this is the difference between such questions and the yes-no questions. We said that if I ask you a yes-no question, it means that I only want to know the answer if it is yes or not. But if I ask you a WH question, it means that I demand more information. I demand details. And that's why we called it information questions, right? And this is the difference between, in fact, this is the difference between yes-no question and WH question. We also said that since we use it we use a WH question to ask for details. So all in all, it means that we are asking for specific qualities or times or places or people according to the WH words that we studied. We studied several WH words, if you remember them. They were what, when, where, who, whom, which, whose, why, how. For example, we said that what is used to ask for things, inanimate things. We said that we use when to ask about time and dates. We use where to ask about place and locations. We use who to ask about people. We use whom to ask about people when they are the object of the verb of the sentence. We use which to ask for choices. We use whose to ask for position and to ask about position. And we use why to ask for the reason. And we use how to ask about the manner or the process in action, right? And we said that we can form the WH questions by following two ways, right? We said that the first way, or according to the first way, we can use an auxiliary verb, and with the other way is that we can form a WH question without an auxiliary verb. How? We said that if we are to use an auxiliary verb, it means that we should start the question, the WH question, with a WH word, of course, and then it should be followed by an auxiliary verb, and then after it we should have the subject and then the main verb of the sentence, and of course this is the typical WH question. But we said that we can use another way, we can follow another rule when forming WH questions. It's when we don't use an auxiliary verb. And when exactly? When the when the WH word replaces the subject of the sentence. When we ask about the subject of the sentence, how to form such a question, we start with the WH word, of course, and then we have the main verb of the sentence directly. And of course, the complement. And of course, we should never forget about the question mark. So these are the two ways of forming WH questions, right? We studied them and we read many examples about them. Did some exercises. Today, we're going to complete some exercises about the WH words, and then we're going to study a new topic which will be included in the exam, inshallah. It is the future tense, and specifically the simple future tense. So let's get started. Before that, I just want to read and repeat this exercise about Judy, the woman who adores dogs, because this is a very important exercise and I want you to pay attention to this exercise. I want you to read it now after me, and then I'm going to ask you certain questions, so please pay attention. Judy is a young woman who absolutely adores dogs. She owns a Papillion named Louie, a Chihuahua named Isabella, and a Siberian Husky named Koda. Every weekend, she takes her dogs to the dog park, where they love to run, play catch, and meet other dogs. When Judy took her pets to the park last Saturday, she almost lost poor little Louie. She was playing catch with Koda when she lost sight of Louie. In a panic, she started shouting his name and asked other dog owners if they saw her little Papillion. After 30 minutes of searching and with the help of one dog owner, she finally found him at the entrance of the dog park, near a small store that sells Louie's favorite treats. Judy was delighted when she found Louie and bought all three of her dogs their favorite treats. Now, who can read it? Mustafa Khalid.
Judy is a young woman who absolutely adores dogs. She owns a Papillion named Louis, a Chihuahua named Isabella, and a Siberian Husky named Koda. Every weekend, she takes her dogs to the dog park, where they love to run, play catch, and meet other dogs. When Judy took her pets to the park last Saturday, she almost lost poor little Louie. She was playing catch with Koda when she lost sight of Louie. In a panic, she started shouting his name and asked other dog owners if they saw her little Papillion. After 30 minutes of searching with the help of one dog owner, she finally found him at the entrance of the dog park near a small store that sells Louis' favorite treats. Judy was delighted when she found Louis and brought all three of her dogs their favorite treats.
Okay, who else can read it? I want another student to read this text. This is an important text. If you don't read it, you will make me regret what I have decided before. Hanan Ghazwan.
Judy is a young woman who absolutely adores dogs. She owns Papillion named Louis, a Chihuahua named Isabella, and a Siberian Husky named Koda. Every weekend, she takes her dogs to the dog park, where they love to run, play catch, and meet other dogs. When Judy took her pets to the park last Saturday, she almost lost poor Laura Louie. She was playing catch with Koda when she lost sight of Louis. In a panic, she started shouting his name and asked other dog owners if they saw her Laurel Papillon. After 30 minutes of searching and with the help of one dog owner, she finally found him at the entrance of the dog park near a small store that sells Louis' favorite treats. Judy was delighted when she found Louis and bought all three of her dogs their favorite treats.
Yes, thank you. One last student to read the text. One last student. One last student to read the text. What about others? Okay, you will regret it. So now concerning this text, here we are talking about Judy, who loves dogs and who has how many dogs? How many dogs does Judy have? Mustafa?
3 dogs.
Yes, 3 dogs. It means that she has 3 pets, right? So what is meant by pet? Sorry, P-E-T. Hanan?
حيوان أليف.
Yes. So she has 3 pets, right? And she lost one of them, but after a while, and with the help of one of the dog owners, she found him. And we know that she loves dogs because it's mentioned that she adores dogs. What is meant by the word adore? It's said that Judy adores dogs. What is meant by adores? Mustafa?
تحب.
Yes, it means يعشق. Yes, that's right. So now let us again answer the questions about Judy. So who is the woman in the story? So easy. Who is the woman in the story? Hanan?
Judy.
Yes. What 3 activities do the dogs love to do? Mustafa?
Playing catch and run, play catch, and meet other dogs.
Yes, that's right. When does this story take place? Mustafa?
In the dog park.
When, not where.
When Louis at Saturday.
Yes.
When she took their 3 dogs to the dog park.
Yes, that's right. Now, where does this story take place? Mustafa again?
When she took the 3 dogs to the
You mean
dog park.
where does this story take place? You should say at a dog park,
At the dog
right? Yes. And I think that's it. The last one. Why is Judy in a panic? Mustafa?
because she lose their Papillion dog, Louis.
Yes. Why is Judy in a panic? if we answer the question with a sentence in the present simple tense, we say, because she loses Judy in a panic. This is applicable when we are talking about a story, so it's okay to say she loses because she loses her dog. But as a matter of fact, the original story is in the past simple, so we can say because she lost her dog. Okay, so I told you that this text is important, but unfortunately, since no one is participating, so I don't know, maybe you'll regret it. However, now, as you see, these questions, these are WH questions, and each one of them, asks about certain piece of information about this text, about Judy. You see, the first one is, since we started with who, so we are asking about the person here in the story. What? The second one asks about activities, things. When asks about the time of what happened. Where asks about the place, and why asks about the reason and the cause behind this this actions of the story. So that's it with this text, and that's it with the WH questions. Now we move to the future tense. Now, what is meant by the future tense? Hanan?
زمن المستقبل.
Yes, that's right. So the future tense in Arabic means مستقبل. Okay, so what is meant by the future tense? Hanan answered this question. How to form a sentence in the future tense, we're going to see. So now, for example, let us look at this sentence. I will go to the university tomorrow. This sentence is in the future tense, right? So if we imagine that we have such a scale of time represented by this arrow, at the beginning it's past time, right? In the middle it's now, the present time, and at the other end, at the far end of this arrow, we will have the future tense, right? So now we are talking about something that will happen, that is going to happen. So that's why when we use this is the meaning of the future tense. So since we are talking about the simple future tense, so it means that we are talking about something that will happen later, right? As a matter of fact, we have many ways of there are many forms of the future tense. If you remember, when we studied the past tense, we studied it according to three aspects, right? We studied the past simple tense, we studied the past continuous tense, and the past perfect tense. And there's another one that we didn't study. However, when we studied the present tense, we studied the present simple tense, the present continuous tense, and the present perfect tense. So now again, according to this tense, we are also going to study the three aspects of the verb in the future tense. So since we have the future simple tense, the future continuous tense, and the future perfect tense, so we will start studying them. So for today, we are only concerned with the future simple tense, right? And as we said, that the simple future tense is used to ask about things or actions that will take place later, right? But we should always keep in our mind that there are many ways of expressing the future without forming a sentence in the future tense. If you remember, when we were studying the present continuous tense, we said that one of the uses of the present continuous tense is to refer to a planned future. So sometimes we can express or refer to an action that is going in the future without using the simple future tense formation, sentence formation, right? Like, for example, when I say I'm going to my school, I'm going to my college next week. It means, of course, that I'm talking about an action that will happen, that is going to happen next week, but I'm not using the future tense formation, sentence formation, right? So this is a very important point that we should keep in our mind. And by the way, we are going to study these ways of expressing the future without following the sentence formation of the future tense. All right, so we should always keep it in our mind. Now, the question is how to form a sentence in the simple future tense. Can anyone explain to me how to form a sentence using the future tense, the simple future tense? Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea? No, you don't. So let us see how to form a sentence in the simple future tense. As you remember, when we studied the past tense and the present tense, when we want to form a sentence, we should study the three types of sentences. How to form them, I mean, how to form these three types. We start with first the affirmative sentence. So how to form an affirmative sentence in the future tense? Of course, as we always said, an affirmative sentence always starts with a subject. So as we did with the present tense and with the past tense, we should start the affirmative sentence with a subject, and the subject should be followed by the auxiliary verb will. This is something different. This is a new auxiliary verb. We should use it in the simple future tense. So we start the affirmative sentence with a subject, and then we should have will, which should be followed by the main verb of the sentence. It should be in its root form, and then we may have a complement. And of course, we should never forget about the period, the full stop at the end, right? So this is how to form a sentence, an affirmative sentence in the simple future tense. Can you give me examples? Are you sleeping? If you don't participate, I'm going to ask certain students to participate. Mustafa?
You will play tennis in the future.
You will play
The simple
tennis
example.
in the future. Yes, right. That's right. This is a good sentence. And keep it in your mind that sometimes we have to use an adverb, and we are going to study the adverbs. Sometimes we have to use adverbs of the future, that adverbs that refer to the future time, like tomorrow and next year. and something like that. So let us see these examples. I will write an article about the accident. This is an example of an affirmative sentence in the simple future tense. It starts with the subject, which is the pronoun I, and then we have the auxiliary verb will, and then we have the main verb of the sentence, right, and then the complement. So I will write an article about the accident. The second one, my friend will come to the party. Again, subject, auxiliary verb, and main verb of the sentence, and complement. Bob and Jack will call you later. Bob and Jack represents the subject, and then we have the auxiliary verb will, and then the main verb of the sentence in its root form, which is call, and then an object and complements. So these are examples of sentences in the simple future tense. Examples of affirmative sentences in the simple future tense. Now we move to the other type of sentence, which is the negative sentence, right? So how to form a negative sentence in the future tense? Mustafa?
Subject and will not or won't, and the root of the verb and the complement, and full stop.
Yes, that's right. So the negative sentence in the simple future tense is formed by following this formula mentioned by Mustafa, which is started, of course, by a subject, and then we should have the auxiliary verb will again, and it's so important. But the difference is now that we should have, of course, we will have the main verb of the sentence in its root form, and it should be followed by a complement. But the difference is that we should have the negative article not after the auxiliary verb will, right? And this is so important because sometimes some students make mistakes like putting the negative article not after the verb or before the auxiliary verb will, and this is so wrong. So please pay attention to this. Maybe it looks so easy to many of you, but there are, believe me, there are those students who make such mistakes. And of course, the contracted form of will not is won't, right? So this is how to form a negative sentence in the simple future tense. We studied now how to form affirmative sentences in the simple future tense. We now studied the negative sentence, how to form a negative sentence in the simple future tense. So now let us see these examples, same ones. I will not write an article about the accident. My friend will not come to the party. Bob and Jack will not call you later. So as we said here, we have a subject and then an auxiliary verb followed by the negative article not, and then the main verb of the sentence in its root form, and then the complement. As your colleague Mustafa said, you should end such negative sentences with the full stop, with a period, right? So please pay attention to this. Now, the other question is how to form an interrogative sentence in the future simple tense. How to form a yes-no question using the or a yes-no question, sorry, in the simple future tense. Hanan?
will plus subject plus verb in the root form plus complement will question mark.
Yes, that's right. So now how to form, just like what your colleague said, how to form an interrogative sentence in the simple future tense. Just like when we did with other tenses when we started the interrogative sentences with the auxiliary verb used with that tense. So here again, when we want to form an interrogative sentence, we should start by the auxiliary verb, which is will. Pay attention that here we are talking about yes/no questions only, right? So how to form an interrogative sentence, a yes/no question in the simple or future tense? You should start with the auxiliary verb will, and then after will, we should have the subject of the sentence, which should be followed by the main verb of the sentence in its root form, and then we may have a complement. And never forget about the question mark. When we talk about the questions, we should always pay attention to the question mark because it's so important, and if you don't put a question mark, it will be considered wrong. So pay attention to this. So this is how we form an interrogative sentence in the simple future tense. Now we are talking about a yes/no question. The question is how to form a WH question in the simple future tense. For example, using the WH word what? Can you tell me? We studied the WH questions and we said that there is a specific way. So what do you think, Mustafa?
WH question with will and the subject and the verb root and the complement WH question.
Yeah, so can you give me an example?
What will you be in the future?
Yes, that's right. What you will be in the future. What do you want to be in the future? What will it's okay, we will consider it wrong, right, sorry. So we started with WH word, and then we said that if we most of the times when we form a WH question, we follow the first rule, which contains an auxiliary verb. So if it is in the simple future tense, so it will start with the WH word and then the auxiliary verb. In this case, it's will, and then the subject will for example, what will you, and then the verb, the main verb of the sentence in its root form, and then the complement, right? So pay attention to how to form such questions, please, and pay attention to the difference between yes/no questions and WH questions. These are some examples. Will I write an article about the accident? Will my friend come to the party? Will Bob and Jack call you later? The same sentences being changed into interrogative sentences, right? So now we have studied everything about the simple future tense. We know how to form the affirmative sentences. We know how to form negative sentences, and we know how to form interrogative sentences in the simple future tense. So I suppose that now you are ready for answering some questions about the simple future tense. Please pay attention to this tense because it will be included in your exam. So now let us do these simple exercises. First, we have incomplete sentences that we should complete. We should complete them in the simple future tense. First one, here there is a kind of conversation between person A and B. So person A says, there's someone at the door. And B says, I get it. So how to form a sentence here using the simple future tense? What should we say? What about other students? They are not here. They don't participate. And if you don't participate, you will lose marks. Hanan?
I will got it because السبجect will والverb in the root form will complement will full stop.
Yes, I will got it. You mean you want to change the get into got?
Yes,
Why?
in the root form. الverb in the root form.
So do you think that the root form of the verb get is got?
No. I will get it. This is in the root form.
Yes, so the
Yes.
answer is I will get it, right? Because it's already it's put in the root form. So I will get it. We only add will here. Okay, so the second one. Juan thinks the conservatives win the next election. Now, what should we do here in this sentence? Juan thinks the conservatives, again I made the same mistake. Juan thinks the conservatives win the next election. What should we do? What should we do here? What about other students? Ja, are you here? Okay, the first victim, Shayma Mahmoud. The second victim is not here. Can you do this sentence? Can you change it? Can you put it? Can you complete this sentence in the simple future tense?
ناصر.
Sorry?
No.
No, you can't.
No,
But
Nasser.
I was explaining everything, and you should be paying attention. So first, you don't participate, and second, you don't answer my question. So no marks for today. What about others? Let me choose another victim. Noor Rakan. Not here. Mahmoud Sulaiman. There are some people who are running out of the lecture. Yaqeen Maqdad. All of the names that I am mentioning will get 0 for today's participation. Okay, now how to complete the sentence in the future tense? We should only add will. So it becomes, Juan thinks the conservatives will win the next election. Right, Mustafa?
Right. I think it's acceptable to use the negative and positive and affirmative.
Okay, it's up to you. Yes,
Maybe affirmative and maybe negative.
yes, that's right. That's right. You can complete it as you like, because there is nothing telling you that you should put these sentences in the as I mean, in the affirmative form. So of course you can change them to be negatives. So maybe you can say Juan thinks the Conservatives will not win the next election, or won't win the next election. That's right. Now the other one, if she passes the exam, she be very happy. Mustafa?
She will be very happy.
Yes, that's right. If she passes the exam, she will be very happy. Yes, that's right. Now, we will have some texts. We'll have three texts that we are going to read now about the world in 2050. So we are speaking about actions that will take place in the year 2050. I'm going to read them, and then I want you to read them after me, and then we may ask some questions. So let us begin. We will first study and read the first text presented by Samuel, who is 27 years old. He says, I think a lot of things will change in 2050. India will overtake China as economy in the world, but the country will have many problems with its demographics. The world will also have a lot of problems with the pollution and the climate changing. We will need to find other resources because there will be more than 9 billion people on Earth in 2050. We will also need to build spaceships to travel to the Moon and to Mars, because we will have to take resources from these places. Again, I think a lot of things will change in 2050. India will overtake China as the first largest economy in the world, but the country will have many problems with its demographics. It will also have a lot of problems with the pollution and the climate changing. We will need to find other resources because there will be more than 9 billion people on Earth in 2050. We will also need to build spaceships to travel to the Moon and to Mars, because we will have to take resources from these places. Now who can read? Hanan Oswan.
The world in the 2050. I think a lot of things will change in the 2050. India will overtake China as the first largest economy in the world. But the country will have many problems with its demographics. The world will also have a lot of problems with the pollution and the climate changing. We will need to find other resources because there will be more than 9 billion people on Earth in 2050. We will also need to build spaceships to travel to the Moon and to Mars, because we will have to take resources from these places.
Yes, we will have to take resources from these places. Thank you, Hanan. Who else? Mustafa?
I think a lot of things will change in 2050. India will overtake China as the first largest economy in the world, but the country will have many problems with the demographics. The world will also have a lot of problems with the population and the climate changing. We will need to find other resources because there will be more than 9 billion people uh, on the earth in 2050. We will also need to build spaceships to travel to the moon and to Mars because we will have to take resources from these places.
Yes, that's right. Who else? Ja?
Now, Mr. I think a lot of things will change in 2050. India will overtake China as the first largest economy in the world, but the country will have many problems with the demographics. The world will also have a lot of problems with the pollution and the climate changing. We will need to find other resources, but because there will be more than 9 billion people on Earth in 2050, we will we will also need to build spaceship to travel to the moon and to Mars, because we will have to take resources from these places.
Yes, that's right. So who else? Do we have another one? So no other student to read this text. Okay, so this text speaks about the future, right? So here Samuel is predicting how the world will be in the year 2050, right? He thinks and if you read the text, you will find many sentences referring to the future. Like when he says, a lot of things will change in 2050. India will overtake China. The country, he means India, will have many problems. The world will also have a lot of problems with pollution. We will need to find other resources. There will be more than 9 billion people. We will also need to build spaceships. We will have to take resources from these places, right? So these are all sentences in the future tense, right? So now concerning Samuel, according to what he says, what will the world look like in 2050? According to what he says. Can you use your own words to explain his own viewpoint of the world, of how the world will look like in 2050? Do you think he is optimistic? What do you think? Ja.
Now, Mr. The world will have a problem with the population and with resources, يعني less resources, and we will need to build a spaceship to travel to moon or Mars to take resources from it.
Yes, that's right. So according to Samuel, we will have problems with first pollution, especially now we are talking about India, which he says that will take China's place as the first largest economy. He also speaks about, since we are talking about India, so as he says, there will be some problems with demographics, maybe with population. There will be more population, since we will have, he says, that we will be more than 9 billion people, and this results in less resources. There will be some lack of resources on Earth, and that's why Samuel thinks that we will need some resources from other planets or from the moon itself. So this is Samuel's idea of how in 2050. Now let us check the other viewpoint delivered by Lee, who is 25 years old. Let us read and discover what she thinks of the world and how will it be in 2050. Our world won't be the same in 2050. We will improve our technology and everybody will be able to speak at least 5 languages. People will live longer and we won't have health problems because we will improve our knowledge on medicine. We will also live in peace and the different countries won't have nuclear weapons anymore. We will also have a single world government as we already have the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund. I think 2050 will be a great year for mankind. Again, our world won't be the same in 2050. We will improve our technology and everybody will be able to speak at least 5 languages. People will live longer and we won't have health problems because we will improve our knowledge on medicine. We will also live in peace and the different countries won't have nuclear weapons anymore. We will also have a single world government as we already have the IMF. I think 2050 will be a great year for mankind. Hanan?
Our world will not be the same in 2050. We will improve our technology and everybody will be able to speak at least 5 languages. People will live together. People will live longer, and we will not have health problems because we will improve our knowledge on medicine. We will also live in space and different countries will not have nuclear weapons anymore. We will also have a single world government as we already have the IM. Also, the government as we already have the international monetary fund. I think 2050 will be a great year for ma, mankind.
Mankind. What is meant by
Mankind.
mankind? What is meant by mankind? Means
don't
يعني البشر، الجنس البشري. Right? So إشجاع
دكتور مو
نعم
human
دكتور.
beings human beings مو تجي
ممكن
الكلام
human beings البشر
كاميرات يعني
mankind أيضا mankind الجنس البشري.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our world want to be the same in 2050. We will improve our technology and everybody will be able to speak at least 5 languages. People will live longer and we won't have health problems because we will improve our knowledge on medicine. We will also live in peace and the different countries won't have nuclear weapon anymore. We will also have a single world government as we already have the IMF International Monetary Fund. I think 2050 will be a great year for mankind.
Yes, thank you. That's right. Now, who else? Mustafa?
Our world want to be the same in 2050. We will improve our technology and everybody will be able to speak at least 5 languages. People will live longer and we won't have health problems because we will improve our knowledge on medicine. We will also live in peace and the different countries won't have nuclear weapons anymore. We will also have a single world government as we already have the IMF International Monetary Fund. I think 2050 will be a great year for mankind.
Yes, that's right. So, according to Lee, who is 25 years old, what do you think the world will be? What are the things that we will need? Mustafa Khalid?
Improve our technology, and the people will at least speak 5 languages. Improve the knowledge on medicine, and that's will be good to help to defeat health problems. Countries want to have nuclear weapons anymore, and we will have single world government, as already have the IMF.
Yes, so this is according to Lee. That's right. She says that we will have improvements in technology and medicine, and of course, we will not need wars. We will live in peace, and we won't have nuclear weapons anymore, because we will have a single world government. So this is according to Lee. Now let us check the other viewpoint. Is delivered by Stephen, who is 29 years old. Let us see what does he think of the world in 2050. I hope that the world countries will be able to overcome the different issues in 2050. We will live in peace and won't have any wars anymore. We will be able to explore the space and to find other habitable planets. We will perhaps find other intelligent beings on other planets in 2050. Again, I hope that the world countries will be able to overcome the different issues in 2050. We will live in peace and won't have any wars anymore. We will be able to explore the space and to find other habitable planets. We will perhaps find other intelligent beings on other planets in 2050. Mustafa?
I hope that the world countries will be able to overcome the different issue in 2050. We will live in peace and won't have any wars anymore. We will be able to explore the space and to find other habitable planets. We will perhaps find other intelligent beings on other planets in 2050.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Now, who else? Hanan?
Stephen in 29, I hope that the world countries will be able to overcome the different issues in 2050. We will live in space and do not have any wars anymore. We will be able to explore the space and to find other happy happy habitable
Habitable, yes.
habitable plants. We will perhaps find other intelligent beings on other planets in 2050.
Yes. What is meant by habitable, Mustafa?
السكان أو إيه السكان
When we say habitable يعني قابل
أو
للعيش.
المعيشة قابلة للعيش.
Yeah, so habitable planets يعني الكواكب القابلة للعيش اللي ممكن نعيش بها. Okay, who else can read? شجاع.
نعم أستاذ. Stephen 29. I hope that the world countries will be able to overcome the different issues in 2050. We will live in peace and won't have any wars anymore. We will be able to explore the space and to find other habitable planets. We will perhaps find other intelligent beings on other planets in 2050?
Yes, thank you. Now, according to Stephen, how will the world be? How will the world look like in 2050? The world will have, now pay attention to the sentences that we are using here. We're only using sentences in the future tense, simple future tense. Hanan Ghazwan?
The world countries will be able to overcome the different issues in 2050 and will live in space and will not have any wars anymore and will be able to explore the space and to find other habitable planets and will perhaps find other intelligent beings on other planets in 2050.
Yes, you are reading. It's okay. So this is how the world will look like according to Stephen. Now let me just look at them. Now, what do you think of them? I will ask you about each one of them. Concerning, now the first one, Samuel, do you think he is optimistic or pessimistic about how the world will look like? What do you mean? What do we mean by optimistic and pessimistic? Optimistic بمعنى مصطفى
أكثر ملائمة
no,
أو أكثر
no. When I say optimistic يعني متفائل. Pessimistic يعني متشائم. So according to what what Samuel says about the world, do you think he is optimistic or pessimistic? What do you think of Samuel, Mustafa?
pessimistic.
Pessimistic, yes, because he thinks that there will be many problems like climate changing and pollution and problems with population in the world, especially in India. And he says that we will have a lack of resources and we will need to go out of the earth to find other places to get resources from. And that's why we say that Samuel is somehow pessimistic. Now, according to what Lee says, do you think that she is optimistic or pessimistic? What do you think, Mustafa?
Optimistic.
Yes, that's right. Lee is optimistic about how the world will look like in 2050 because she thinks that everything will be fine and we will know we will be able to speak many languages and we will have some great improvements in technology and medicine. Now, what about Stephen? Do you think he is optimistic? What about others? Mustafa?
Optimistic.
Yes, that's right. We have many other questions concerning, questions about what Samuel, Lee, and Stephen say, but we don't have time for that. So, quickly, now let me just mention some predictions and ask you if you know who is predicting this. Who is predicting that people won't get sick anymore? People will not get sick anymore. Mustafa?
Lee.
Yes, that's right. And who is predicting that humans will obtain resources from out of the earth?
A question. What's the question?
Who is predicting that people will get resources from out of the earth? Samuel, yes, that's right. Now, who thinks that many people will be multilingual? Mustafa?
Lee.
Lee, yes. What is meant by multilingual?
Speaking many languages.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so we will complete the questions next time, inshallah. Till then, that's it for today. And inshallah, next time we will study the future, the continuous tense, and we will do some more exercises, of course. So, do you have any questions?